3 reflections, 3 shadows, 3 nights that no one should ever witness alone. Tonight, we dive into the terrifying world where mirrors don't just reflect. They watch, they learn, and they wait. From an apartment where the reflection refuses to stay put, to a shadow that mimics your every move, to a dark mirror that wants to replace you completely. These are the stories that will make you question every glass, every window, every glance at yourself in the dark. Dare to watch if you can handle the truth behind the reflections in the dark. Story Part 1. I remember the first time I saw it. I wasn't even sure I believed it at first. I had just moved into a small apartment on the outskirts of town, a place so cheap and run down it almost felt like a joke. The previous tenant had left in a hurry, leaving the blinds half broken and the lights flickering like they couldn't decide whether to stay on or off. It was late, around midnight, and I was unpacking my boxes, exhausted from the long drive. That's when I noticed it, a reflection in the dark. Not in a mirror, not in the glass of a window, but hovering behind me in the corner of my apartment. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the shadows, a distorted reflection cast by the flickering light. But when I turned, there was nothing there. I chalked it up to exhaustion. New city, new job, and living alone for the first time. It was natural for my mind to play tricks. But then it started happening again, night after night. I would see movement in my peripheral vision, a shape standing just behind me in mirrors and glass surfaces. It never fully revealed itself, just a dark silhouette that seemed to watch, to wait. I began covering all mirrors in my apartment, glass furniture, even the tiny reflective backsplash in my kitchen. It didn't help. The reflection was still there, always just behind me, always watching. One night, desperate for sleep, I sat in the darkened living room with the curtains tightly drawn, hoping to ignore it. I was trying to tell myself it wasn't real when I felt it, a coldness creeping along the back of my neck, like icy fingers brushing my skin. I spun around, but the apartment was empty. Then, from the corner of my eye, I caught it again. The shape, darker than the night itself, crouched in the corner near the kitchen. It wasn't a person, it was wrong. Wrong in a way I couldn't explain, like a shadow that shouldn't exist in 3 dimensions. I started researching. I spent nights in front of my laptop, scrolling through forums, paranormal sites, and old newspaper archives. That's when I found mention of the apartment's previous tenant, a man named Arthur. He had died there under mysterious circumstances, though no one knew exactly how. The police reports were vague. The neighbors whispered about strange lights and noises in the dead of night. Some people wrote that he had become obsessed with mirrors and reflections, claiming that they showed him things no one else could see. The more I read, the more I began to understand. This wasn't just a haunting. This thing was feeding on attention, watching the living like a predator, learning their routines, shaping itself into whatever form would terrify them most. The reflection wasn't a reflection at all. It was something else, something that hid in the space between light and shadow, waiting for its moment. Sleep became impossible. Every corner of my apartment felt alive, every shadow a potential threat. I would wake up drenched in sweat, seeing the shape looming just at the edge of vision. I tried leaving, moving out, but every new apartment, every new room, carried the same thing. It followed. I began sleeping with the lights on, but even then, it didn't vanish. Only the darkness seemed to give it form, to let it show itself. One night, I decided to confront it. I stood in front of the largest mirror in my apartment, the one in my bedroom, and stared into it. "I see you," I whispered, my voice shaking. The reflection didn't mimic me. It smiled, a wide, impossible smile that split its shadowy face in a way that shouldn't have been possible. I stumbled backward, but it moved closer, not in the mirror, but in the room itself, emerging like smoke from the glass. I screamed, and in that instant, I saw it clearly, my own body standing behind me, frozen, eyes wide, lips moving silently. I wasn't alone. I never had been. The reflection had been me all along, or at least a version of me, twisted and patient, waiting for the right moment. And now it had the chance. I ran, fleeing into the night, but it followed. I could see it in every reflective surface, in puddles of water, in car windows, even in the darkened screen of my phone. The thing had learned to move beyond the glass, to step into the real world. I tried to escape the city, driving hundreds of miles, leaving everything behind. For weeks, I thought I was free. And then, one night while brushing my teeth in a hotel bathroom, I glanced up at the mirror, and there it was. Not my reflection, not exactly. A shadow of myself, smiling back with eyes that didn't belong to me, waiting, patient and hungry. And that's when I realized the truth. The reflection isn't in the dark. The dark is in it. Wherever it goes, it carries the shadows of its victims, learning, growing, always waiting for the next person foolish enough to see. I haven't slept properly since. I live in constant light now, afraid to close my eyes, afraid to look in mirrors. Because every time I do, I know it's there, just behind me, grinning. And one day soon, it will step out. The last thing I saw before writing this was a note scrawled across the mirror in my hotel bathroom, written in a hand that wasn't mine. Stop looking, or you'll join me. I don't know if I can escape it. And tonight, when I shut off the lights to sleep, I'll see it again, waiting in the dark, with my face. But not my face. Story Part 2. It started on a rainy evening when I returned home from work later than usual. The streets glistened wet, reflecting the dim streetlights in puddles that stretched like mirrors. I lived alone in a high-rise apartment, and the elevator ride up had always felt lonely. But that night, it felt wrong. I unlocked my door, drenched and shivering, and the apartment was quiet, as always. I shrugged off my coat, dripping water onto the carpet, and noticed something strange immediately. My bedroom mirror was fogged up, though I hadn't taken a shower. Wiping it, I froze. Written in the condensation, as if by invisible fingers, were the words, "I see you." I laughed nervously. Probably a prank from the building maintenance, or maybe my imagination. But when I went to bed that night, the feeling of being watched didn't fade. I kept seeing shadows out of the corner of my eye, distorted reflections in my phone screen, the window glass, even the black surface of my laptop. Over the next few days, it got worse. The reflections began moving independently. I would stand in front of the mirror brushing my teeth, and the reflection would linger a second too long after I looked away. Sometimes it didn't move with me at all. It just watched. Its eyes were darker than mine, its smile too wide, as though it knew something I didn't. I decided to test it. I placed tape over all mirrors and covered reflective surfaces, even turning screens toward the wall. But every night, when the lights were off, I could see it again, standing behind the darkness, waiting, patient. It wasn't just a reflection. It was learning me, studying me, waiting for the perfect moment. Then came the night I realized it could mimic more than just my movements. I woke to a whisper, soft and distorted, like my own voice but wrong. "Don't look." I turned on the bedside lamp, heart hammering, and the shadow in the corner was moving toward me, slowly, impossibly, as though gravity didn't apply to it. I ran into the hallway and tried calling a friend, anyone, but my phone screen went black. Then I saw it again, clearer than ever, in the dark glass of the living room door. Its form was nearly identical to mine, but its posture, its expression, everything screamed danger. I stayed awake for nights, lights on, every reflective surface removed. I even slept on the floor, away from mirrors, away from windows. And yet, every morning something had moved. A chair slightly turned, a book on the floor I hadn't touched, a shadow lingering where it shouldn't. I eventually realized it wasn't just a reflection of me, it was trying to replace me. I read online about similar phenomena, shadows that mirror reality, waiting to step into the world of the living. Victims vanish, only to have their shadow selves take their place, perfect copies that live among the living. One night, exhausted, I thought I saw an opportunity. I confronted it in the largest mirror, shouting, "I know what you want. You won't take me." The reflection smiled. Not me, but something infinitely darker. It leaned forward, a hand reaching out from the glass. My heart stopped. Then, the impossible happened. I felt a pull, icy and deep, as if the mirror was trying to suck me in. My reflection smiled wider, and for a moment, I could see everything it had been watching. My life, my fears, my routines. Even the moment I would be replaced. I escaped that night, smashing the mirror behind me, leaving my apartment forever. I thought I was free, but shadows have a way of catching up. The next day, I woke to a message on my own laptop screen, typed in a font I didn't recognize. "You can run, but I will see you everywhere." Since then, I've avoided mirrors entirely. I don't look into windows, into water, or reflective surfaces. Every hotel, every store, every office, everywhere I go, I feel it behind me. Sometimes, in the corner of a shop window, I think I see myself smiling, but it's not me. And now, as I type this, I feel it behind me, closer than ever, waiting. And I know that tonight, when the lights go out, it will step out fully. And maybe this time, there will be no escape. Story Part 3. It was late autumn, and the nights had begun swallowing the city earlier every day. I lived alone, in a small apartment, above an old bookstore, a place I had rented for its cheap rent and quiet streets. The first night I stayed there, I noticed something strange about the bedroom mirror. It was small, old, with a cracked corner, and for a moment, I could swear it moved, just slightly, even though nothing else in the room shifted. I dismissed it as exhaustion. The next night, I began noticing shadows in the mirror that weren't mine. Sometimes they lingered behind me, sometimes they were in corners where I couldn't see them directly. I started avoiding the mirror, covering it with a dark sheet, but the shadows didn't stop. One night, I woke to the sound of quiet whispering. The voice was faint, but I recognized it immediately. It was me, speaking words I had never said. Trembling, I approached the mirror, lifting the sheet. My reflection smiled at me, but the smile was wrong. It was wider, crueler, with eyes that seemed to burn through me. That was when it started speaking. "You can't leave. Not yet," it said, in my own voice. My blood ran cold. I stepped back, but the reflection didn't mirror me anymore. It stepped forward in the mirror, reaching toward me, and the surface rippled as though it were water. For nights, I tried ignoring it, moving around my apartment cautiously, covering all reflective surfaces, even staring at the walls instead of the floor. But it found me everywhere. Sometimes I would see it in the dark windows of the bookstore below, standing behind the shelves, grinning, waiting. Then came the night I thought I had a plan. I faced the mirror head-on, shaking, and screamed, "I won't let you have me!" The reflection laughed, a chilling, distorted version of my own laugh, and whispered, "You already belong here." I ran, leaving everything behind, not looking back. For weeks, I felt safe, convinced I had escaped. But one evening, I was walking past a glass storefront when I saw it again. Not my reflection, but me, standing perfectly still, smiling, eyes black, waiting for me to notice. I realized the truth too late. This was not a reflection, it was something else, a shadow version of myself that had learned to walk outside the mirror. It didn't just want to watch, it wanted to replace me, to live my life while I became nothing but a ghost trapped in the dark. Now, wherever I go, I see it, in windows, in screens, in every reflective surface, always smiling, always patient, always waiting. And deep down, I know one day, it will step out completely, and my life will belong to the reflection, and I will be trapped in the dark forever. The end.